So you see this type of behavior in China, blocking train doors, stealing toilet paper, finding the best part of the veggie. You might think, wow, is this how Chinese people are? Yes, but Chinese people weren't always like this. These are what's being called the China nature or the Chinese nature. In Chinese, it's called the China's nature never changes. And it's a trendy phrase that's being used on the Chinese internet and overseas as well. From random doo-doo to random thefts. Yes, in China, despite what the CCP shells claim, they're still thieves. It's really a reflection of the modern Chinese society under the CCP, the nature of the Chinese people today. Now, you might notice that this is happening way more with the older generations in China, but it's still quite prominent among the younger generations simply because, while it's in a different form, the thinking and the mindset was taught from generations to generations. For example, in this case, a family relative of this person works for a Chinese-German company in China. It's a joint venture. And so the so-called imperialistic Germans have this great benefit for employees who have to move their homes or move to a different rental. They get 3 days off and they get a 10,000 yuan moving expense. And one of the employees, a Chinese person, decided that to take advantage of this incentive, and he moved 7 times in a year, which successfully caused the company to remove that benefit. It's when they work for a foreign company or take advantage of certain unspoken flexible rules that's essentially there based on the ability for people to use them when they actually need to use them, not when they can start abusing these policies. Like, say, unlimited paid time off isn't necessarily for you to get unlimited paid time off, but it's there when you actually run into emergencies or actually need those times. But of course, this is not the real Chinese nature. This is the Communist Party's nature. Don't believe me? Here's a great comparison. This is a subway station in China versus one in Taiwan. Notice how things are done here. It turns out that one place going through communism versus one that didn't go through the CCP results in a different interpretation or understanding of civility, of society, and even, I guess, of mannerism. And honestly, if you've had real-life interactions with a Taiwanese person versus a Chinese person, the immediate difference is so clear. Now, why is it that these two originally essentially the same group of people, mostly Han Chinese people, can act so differently 50 years living apart from each other? Well, the answer is Mao Zedong. Before Mao Zedong, things were quite different. Ancient Chinese teachings emphasized harmony, emphasized moral values, emphasized the characters of the 5 constants in the Confucian teachings. The first is Ren, or benevolence, humanness, or compassion. And the second is Yi, righteousness, or justice. The third is Li, which is propriety, ritual, or proper conducts. The next one is Zhi, wisdom. And the last but not least, Xin, faithfulness, trustworthiness, or integrity. And these simple measurements of moral decency or humanity even, they're all tossed aside out of the window when Mao and the CCP came in. Now, simply because these constants do nothing in today's China doesn't mean that in the past it wasn't effective. But let's go to the present. In China today, could you survive gutter oil and poisonous food with benevolence and justice? No. Here's a fish seller claiming that if you drop some of these light liquid vials with the jumping fishes, they immediately calm down. And it turns out this liquid is called eugenol, which is a calming agent. And of course, it leaves harmful residuals that pass on from the fish to the person eating it.
这种豆腐渣工程，你看我手拔一拔看看，你不手拔吧？你看我用手，拍一下，这是什么工程啊？
Another one. Could you survive tofu jet construction and terribly built infrastructure with wisdom or with courage? Probably not. Could you eliminate screwing others over with fake products using faithfulness or the righteousness of characters, such as this fake down jacket fillings?
这啥东西啊？五颜六色、乌漆麻黑的，里面怎么会有那么多五颜六色的线头啊？那么多羽毛的毛片，这里面真的是
Nope, probably not. And that's why real, authentic products are so hard to come by. And that's not the case with my favorite supplement, GinEX American Ginseng Extract. This is my daily brain function and performance booster. Now, I recently went back to the gym after 5 years of not working out. Honestly, now it takes extra effort to get out of bed in the morning and get back into the gym routine. But with GinEX Ginseng Extract, it has helped me tremendously. American ginseng has been shown to support healthy blood sugar, lower lipids, and even reduce fatigue. And GinEX can help you stay focused, calm, and be mentally clear while also supporting better sleep and a more balanced mood. As you can see why those are important factors for you to get a great workout in and feel good throughout the day. Now, with its powerful immune boosting properties, it's perfect for any season, especially during the cold and the flu season. Unlike caffeine, this does not cause a crash, which is quite awesome for needing a consistent output of energy. And it's also suited for everybody, young or old. And it's a great natural product to add to your healthy lifestyle. So use my code DAVID to get 15% off your purchases. And right now, if you spend $500, you get an additional $50 off all the way through Thanksgiving and Black Friday. So Mao preached this idea of crude and combative language and combative actions. Aggression and confrontation were key to his removal and erasure of Chinese culture. To steal isn't necessarily a crime in the eyes of the CCP, but it is the seizing of the means of production. Now, given this mindset, stealing from a marathon water station, stealing the fruits, the water, and the bread is seen as a generous, I guess you would call it, redistribution of wealth. Taking others' crops and harvested as their own redistribution of wealth. To erase his version of class differences, well, there's no emphasis on learning the classics, but what Mao wanted was people learning from the Red Book, the little handbook. Through systematic elimination of scholars, it removed wisdom, propriety. Through the class struggles, it eliminated benevolence and righteousness. So proper people are put into struggle sessions, and what comes out of it is that the entirety of this idea of what is right or wrong is removed or erased. Now, in place, we have things like lying. This man bought 10 crabs online for almost 100 yuan, and he did receive 10 crabs.
1块硬币有没有了？
那手指头嘛到位了吧？还要，手稍微。
啊，98块钱十字线啊。
And Mao also destroyed temples and monasteries and removed the idea of faith and integrity, religions. Ancient Chinese commands respect between people and respect between heaven and earth. For example, the very simple bowing traditions that Japan and Korea, their culture remains to have. That was once part of the Chinese culture as well. In fact, it came from China. The act of paying respect was a common occurrence, and it was something that really was not an amplification of class, but rather it was a way of conducting yourself. Mao Zedong also amplified class differences in his own ways through this class struggle, or the preaching of class struggle. Ancient China did have class differences. You had the emperor, you had the ruler, right? You had the peasants. But that idea was not in the teachings. It was always to see through those class differences and to learn from essentially anybody. Such was the case with Confucius. He was preaching that anyone can teach you a lesson, even if they're peasants or farmers. Even emperors in China would do these tours into the distant areas, regions where he is far away from the capital, disguised in plain clothes to learn from the people what they think of the emperor, his rules, or even knowledge that he didn't know or possessed. But today we see a superficial China, one where it's built on the idea of enlarging and beautifying itself to the extent that the world, or it wants the world to believe that it is better, it is doing so great, prosperous. But in reality, it is a hollow, empty shell of what essentially was once a glorious civilization that has been destroyed in a few decades by the CCP. So thank you so much for watching this episode. Hope you enjoyed the content. And let me know your thoughts in the comments about this video and the topic. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, as we have these great videos every single week talking about the inside details of China. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.